Howdy, y'all. Swan Marion, the bookworm cowboy here. And I'm going to read from this book, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, illustrated edition. And now for a chapter from the book. Chapter 12, the Polyjuice Potion. And I think this is Fox on the front, on this one. They stepped off the stone staircase at the top, and Professor McGonagall rapped on the door. It opened silently, and they entered. Professor McGonagall told Harry to wait, and left him there, alone. Harry looked around. One thing was certain. All of the teachers and offices that Harry had visited so far this year, Dumbledore's was by far the most interesting. He hadn't been scared out of his wits that he was about to be thrown out of school. He would have been very pleased to have a chance to look around it. It was a large and beautiful circular room, full of funny little noises. A number of curious silver instruments stood on spindle-legged tables, whirring and emitting little puffs of smoke. The walls were covered with portraits of old headmasters and headmistresses, all of whom were snoozing gently in their frames. There was also an enormous claw-footed desk, and sitting on a shelf behind it, a shabby, tattered wizard's hat. The Sorting Hat. Harry hesitated. He cast a wary eye around the sleeping witches and wizards on the walls. Surely it couldn't hurt if he took the hat down and tried it on again, just to make sure it had put him in the right house. He walked around quietly around the desk, lifted the hat from its shelf, and lowered it on top of his head. It was much too large and slipped down over his eyes, just as it had done the last time he put it on. Harry stared at the black inside of the hat, waiting. Then a small voice said in his ear, "Be in your bonnet, Harry Potter?" "Yes, yes," Harry muttered. Sorry to bother you. I wanted to ask. You've been wondering whether I put you in the right house," said the hat smartly. "Yes, you were particularly different to place. I stand by what I said before." Harry's heart leapt. "You would have done well within Slytherin." Harry's stomach plummeted. He grabbed the point of the hat and pulled it off, and it hung limply in his hand. Grubby and faded. Harry pushed it back onto the shelf, feeling sick. You're wrong, he said aloud to the still and silent hat. It didn't move. Harry backed away, watching it. Then a strange gagging noise behind him made him wheel around. He wasn't alone after all. Standing on a golden perch, locked behind the door, was a decrepit-looking bird, which similarly looked like a half-plucked turkey. Harry stared at it, and the bird looked balefully black, making the gagging noise again. Harry thought it looked very ill. Its eyes were dull, and even as Harry watched, a couple of more feathers fell out of its tail. I guess this is Fox right here. And here. Harry was just thinking that all he needed was for Dumbledore's pet bird to die while he was alone in the office with it, when the bird burst into flames. Harry yelled in shock and backed away into the desk. He looked feverishly around in case there was a glass of water somewhere, but he couldn't see one. The bird, meanwhile, had become a fireball. It gave one loud shriek. Next, there was nothing but a smoldering pile of ashes on the floor. The office doors opened. Dumbledore came in looking very somber. "Professor!" Harry gasped. "Your bird! I couldn't do anything. He just caught fire." To Harry's astonishment, Dumbledore smiled. "What time too?" he said. "He's been looking dreadful for days. I've been telling him to get a move on." He chuckled at the stunned look on Harry's face. "Fox is a phoenix, Harry. Phoenixes burst into flames when it is time for them to die and are reborn from the ashes. Watch him." Harry looked down in time to see a tiny, wrinkled newborn bird poke its head out of the ashes. It was quite as ugly as the old one. "It's a shame we ought to see him on a burning day," said Dumbledore, seating himself behind his desk. "He's really very handsome most of the time. Wonderful red and gold plumage. Fascinating creatures, phoenixes. He can carry immensely heavy loads. Their tears have healing powers, and they make highly faithful pets." In the shock of Fox casting fire, Harry had forgotten what he was there for. But it all came back to him as Dumbledore settled himself in the high-backed chair behind the desk and fixed Harry with his penetrating light blue stare. Before Dumbledore could speak another word, however, the door of the office flew open with an almighty bang, and Hagrid burst in, a wild look in his eyes, as Baklava perched on top of his shaggy, black head, and the dead rooster still swinging from his hands. "It wasn't Harry, Professor Dumbledore," said Hagrid urgently. "I was talking to him seconds before that kid was found. He never had time, sir." Dumbledore tried to say something, but Hagrid went ranting on, waving the rooster around in his agitation, sending feathers everywhere. "It can't have been him. I swear in front of the Ministry of Magic, if I have to." "Hagrid, you got the wrong boy, sir. Harry never." "Hagrid!" said Dumbledore loudly. "I do not think that Harry attacked these people." "Oh," said Hagrid, the rooster falling limply to its side. "Right. I'll wait outside then, Headmaster." And he stomped out, looking embarrassed. "You don't think it was me, Professor?" Harry repeated hopefully as Dumbledore brushed rooster feathers off his desk. "No, Harry, I don't," said Dumbledore, though his face was somber again. "But I still want to talk to you." Harry waited nervously while Dumbledore considered him, the tips of his long fingers together. "I must ask you, Harry, whether there is anything you'd like to tell me," he said. "Anything at all." Harry didn't know what to say. He thought of Malfoy's shouting, "You'll be next, Mudbloods," and of the Polyjuice potion simmering away in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. And he thought of the disembodied voice he had heard twice, and remembered hearing what Ron had said. Hearing voices no one else can hear isn't a good sign, even in the wizarding world. He thought too about what everyone said to him and his growing dread that he was somehow connected to Salazar Slytherin. "No," said Harry. "There isn't anything, Professor." The double attack on Justin and Nearly Headless Nick turned what had hitherto been nervousness into real panic. Curiously, it was Nearly Headless Nick's fate that seemed to worry people most. What could possibly do that to a ghost? People had asked each other, what terrible power could harm someone who was already dead? There was almost a stampede to book seats on the Hogwarts Express so that students could go home for Christmas. At this rate, we'll be the only ones left, Ron told Harry and Hermione. Us, Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle. What a jolly holiday it's going to be. Crabbe and Goyle, who always did whatever Malfoy did, signed up to stay over the holidays too. But Harry was glad that most people were leaving. He was tired of people skirting around him in corridors as though he was about to sprout fangs or spit poison. Tired of all the muttering, pointing, and hissing as he passed. Fred and George, however, found all of this funny. They went out of their way to march Harry down the car, saying, make way for the heir of Slytherin. There's an evil wizard coming through." Percy was pretty disapproving of this behavior. "It is not a laughing matter," said coldly. "Oh, get out of the way, Percy," said Fred. "Harry's in a hurry." "Yeah, he's heading off to the Chamber of Secrets for a cup of tea with his fanged servant," said George, chortling. Jean didn't find it amusing either. "Oh, don't," she said every time Harry asked loudly who he was planning to attack. That's or George pretending to ward Harry off with a large clove of garlic when they met. Harry didn't mind. It made him feel better that Fred and George at least thought the day of his being Slytherin's heir was quite ludicrous. But their antics seemed to be aggravating Draco Malfoy, who looked increasingly sour every time he saw them at it. It's because he's bursting to say it's really him," said Ron knowingly. "You know he hates everyone beating him at anything, and you're getting all the credit for his dirty work." "Not for long," said Hermione in a satisfied tone. "Apologies person, nearly ready. You could be getting the truth out of him any day now." At last the term ended, and his silence, deep as the snow on the grounds, descended on the castle. Harry found it peaceful rather than gloomy, and enjoyed the fact that he, Hermione, and the Weasleys had the run of Griffin Tower, which meant they could play Exploding Snapshot without bothering anyone, practice dueling in private. Fred, George, and Ginny had chosen to stay at school rather than visit Bill in Egypt, and with Mr. and Mrs. Weasley. Percy, disapproved of what he termed the childish behavior, didn't spend much time in the Gryffindor common room. He had already told them pompously that he was only staying over Christmas because it was his duty as a prefect to support the teachers during these troubled times. Christmas morning dawned cold and white. Harry and Ron, the only ones left in their dormitory, were woken very early by Hermione, who burst in fully dressed and carrying presents for both of them. "Wake up," she said loudly, pulling back the curtains at the window. "Hermione, you're not supposed to be in here," said Ron, shielding his eyes against the light. "Merry Christmas to you, too," said Hermione, throwing it at him as present. "I haven't up for nearly an hour. Adding more lace wings to the potion. It's ready." Harry sat up, suddenly wide awake. "Are you sure?" "Positive," said Hermione, shifting Scabbers the rat so that she could sit down on the end of his four-poster. If we're going to do it, it should be tonight. At that moment, Hagrid Hedwig swooped into the room, carrying a very small package in her beak. "Hello," said Harry happily as she landed on his bed. "Are you speaking to me again?" She nibbled his ear in an affectionate sort of way. She was a far better present than the one that she had brought him, which turned out to be from the Dursleys. They sent Harry a toothpick and note telling him not whether he'd be able to stay at Hogwarts for the summer holidays too. The rest of Harry's Christmas presents were far more satisfactory. He had sent him a large tin of treacle fudge, which Harry decided to soften by the fire before eating. Ron had given him a book called Flying with the Cannons, a book of interesting facts about his favorite Quidditch team. And Hermione had bought him a luxury eagle-feathered quill. Harry opened the last minute to find a new hand-knit jumper from Mrs. Weasley and a large plum cake. He put up her card with a fresh surge of guilt about Mr. Weasley's car, which hadn't been seen since his crash with the Whomping Willow. About roping he and Ron were planning next. Maybe a hair. They do that. I don't think. Maybe a hair. No one. Not even someone dreading taking college's course later could fail to enjoy Christmas dinner at Hogwarts. The Great Hall looked magnificent. Not only were there a dozen frost-covered Christmas trees and thick streamers of holly and mistletoe crisscrossing the ceiling, but a enchanted snow was falling warm and dry from the ceiling. Dumbledore led them in a few of his favorite carols, Hagrid booming more and more loudly with every goblet of eggnog he presumed. Percy, who hadn't noticed that Fred had bewitched the prefect badge, so it now read Pinhead, kept asking them all that they were sniggering at. Harry didn't care that Draco Malfoy was making loud, snide remarks about his new jumper from the Slytherin table. With a bit of luck, Malfoy would be getting his comeuppance in a few hours' time. Harry and Ron had barely finished their third helping of Christmas pudding when Hermione ushered them out of the hall to finalize their plan for the evening. We still need a bit of people you're changing into, said Hermione matter-of-factly, as though she was sending them to the supermarket for washing powder. And obviously it'll be best if you get something of Crabbe and Goyle's. They're Malfoy's best friends, he'll tell them anything. And we also need to make sure the real Crabbe and Goyle don't burst in on us while we're interrogating them. Him. That all worked out, she said, went on smoothly, ignoring her and Ron's stupefied faces. She held up 2 plum chocolate cakes. I filled these up with a simple sleeping draught. All you have to do is make sure Crabbe and Goyle find them. You know how greedy they are. They're bound to eat them. Once they're asleep, pluck out a few of their hairs and hide them in the broom cupboard. Harry and Ron were looking critically at each other. Hermione, I don't think that could go seriously wrong. But Hermione had a steely glint in her eyes, not unlike the one Professor McGonagall sometimes had. The potions will be useless without Crabbe and Goyle's hair, she said sternly. You do want to investigate Malfoy, don't you? Oh, all right. What about you? Whose hair are you ripping out? I've already got mine, said Hermione brightly, pulling a tiny bottle of her pocket and showing them to the thing that her inside. Remember Millicent Bulstrode wrestling with me at the dueling club? She left this on my robes while she was trying to strangle me. She's gone home for Christmas, so I just gonna have to tell the Slytherins I decided to come back. When Hermione had bustled off to check on the Polyjuice potion again, Ron turned to Harry with a doom-laden expression. Have you ever heard of a plan where so many things could go wrong? But to Harry and Ron's utter amazement, stage 1 of the operation went as smoothly as Hermione had said. He lurked in the deserted Hunter's Hall after Christmas tea, waiting for Crabbe and Goyle, who had remained all alone at the Slytherin table, shoveling down 4 helpings of trifle. Harry had perched the chocolate cakes on the end of the banisters, when they spotted Crabbe and Goyle coming out of the Great Hall. He had quickly behind the suit of armor next to the front door. How thick can you get? Ron whispered excitedly as Miss Crabbe chiefly pointed out the cakes to Goyle and grabbing them. Grinning stupidly, he stuffed the cakes whole into their mouth. While both of them chewed greedily, looks of triumph on their face. Then, without the smallest change of expression, both keeled over backwards onto the floor. Like this. See, they're unconscious. Much of the difficult bit was hiding them in the cupboard across the hall. Once they were safely stowed amongst the buckets and mops, Harry yanked out a couple of bristles that covered Goyle's forehead, and Ron pulled out several of Crabbe's hairs. He also stole their shoes, because they were far too small for Crabbe's and Goyle's feet. Then, still stunned at what they had done, they sprinted up to Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. They could hardly see for the thick black smoke issuing from the curbside cubicle, in which Hermione was stirring the cauldron. Pulling their robes up over their faces, Harry and Ron knocked softly on the door. Hermione! They heard the scrape of the lock, and Hermione emerged, shiny-faced and looking anxious. Behind her, they heard a gloop of the bubbling, treacle-thick potion. 3 glass tumblers stood ready on the toilet seat. Did you get them? Hermione asked breathlessly. Harry shouldered Goyle's hair. Good. And I think some spare robes out of the laundry, Hermione said, holding up a small stack. You need bigger sizes once you're Crabbe and Goyle. The 3 of them stared into the cauldron. Close up, the potion looked thick, dark mud bubbling sluggishly. I'm sure I've done everything right, said Hermione, nervously reading the last page of the most potent potions. It looks like the book says it should. Once we've drunk it, it'll have exactly an hour before we change back into ourselves. Now what? Ron whispered. We separated into 3 glasses and add the hairs. Hermione ladled large dollops of the potion into each of the glasses. Then, her hand trembling, she shook Millicent Bulstrode's hair out of its ball into the first glass. Potions hissed loudly like a boiling kettle and frothed madly. Seconds later, it had turned a thick sort of yellow. Ugh! Essence of Millicent Bulstrode, said Ron, eyeing it with loathing. It tastes disgusting. Adios, then, said Hermione. Harry dropped Goyle's hair into the middle glass. Ron put Crabbe's into the last one. Both glasses hissed and frothed. Goyle's turned to the khaki color of the bogey. Crabbe's a dark, muddy brown. Hang on, said Harry as Ron and Hermione reached for the glasses. Once they turned to Crabbe and called him won't fit, and wasn't both no pixie. Good thinking, said Ron. unlocking the door. They'll take separate cubicles. Careful not to go drop of his Polyjuice potion. Harry slipped into the middle cubicle. Ready? He said. Ready, came Ron and Hermione's voices. 1, 2, 3. Pinching his nose, Harry drank the potion down in 2 large gulps. It tasted like overcooked cabbage. Immediately, his insides were started writhing, as though he just swallowed live snakes. Doubled up, he wondered whether he was going to be sick. Then a burning sensation spread rapidly from his stomach to the neck, to the very ends of his fingers and toes. Next, bringing him gasping to all fours, came a horrible melting feeling as the skin all over his body bubbled like hot wax. And before his eyes, his hands began to grow. The fingers thickened. The nails broadened and the nose were bulging like bolts. His shoulders stretched painfully, and the prickling on his forehead told him that hair was creeping down towards his eyebrows. His robes ripped at his chest, spanning like a barrel, bursting in his hoops. His feet were agony and four sizes too small. And suddenly, as it started, everything stopped. Harry lay down on the cold stone floor, listening to Myrtle gurgling remorselessly in the toilet. Difficultly, he kicked off the shoes and stood up. This is what it felt like being Goyle. His large hands trembling, he pulled off his old robes, which were hanging a foot above his ankle. Pulled on the spare ones, the lace Goyle's boat-like shoes. He reached up to brush his hair out of his eyes, only met with a short growth of wiry bristles low on his forehead. Then he realized that his glasses were clouding his eyes. Because Goyle obviously didn't need them. He took them off and growled, "Are you two okay?" Goyle's low rasp of a voice issued from his mouth. "Yeah," came the deep grunt of Crabbe right from his right. Harry unlocked his door and stepped in front of the cracked mirror. Goyle stared back at him at the old deep-set eyes. Harry scratched his ears. So did Goyle. Ron's door opened. They stared at each other, except he looked pale and shocked. Unlike the seagull from Crabbe, from his pudding basin haircut to the long gorilla arms. "This is unbelievable," said Ron, approaching the mirror and prodding Crabbe's flat nose. "Unbelievable. Better get going," said Harry, loosening the watch that was cut into Goyle's thick wrist. "Still gotta find where the southern common room is. I only hope we can find someone to follow." Ron, who had been gazing at Harry, said, "You know how bizarre it is to see Goyle thinking." He banged down Hermione's, "Come on, we need to go." "Hi, bitch voice, and I don't think I'll come with you. And after all, you better go on without me." "Hermione, we know Millicent Bulstrode is ugly. No one's gonna know it's you." "No, really, I don't think I'll come. You do hurry. You're wasting time." Harry looked at Ron, bewildered. "I mean, that looks more like Goyle," said Ron. "That's how he looks every time a quiz teacher asks us a question." "Hermione, are you okay?" said Harry through the door. I'm fine. Just go." Harry looked at his watch. Five of their precious 60 minutes had already passed. "Meet you back here, all right?" he said. Harry and Ron opened the door of the bathroom carefully, checked the coast was clear, and set off. "Don't swing your arms like that, Harry," he muttered to Ron. "Eh?" Crabbe holds them sort of stiff, and how's this? "Yeah, much better." They went down the marble staircase. All they needed now was a Slytherin whom they could follow to the Slytherin common rooms, but there was nobody around. Any ideas? The Slytherins always come up to breakfast from over there. nodding at the entrance to the dungeons. Words had barely left his mouth when a girl with long curly hair emerged from the entrance. "Excuse me," said Ron, hurrying up. "We've forgotten the way to our common rooms." "I beg your pardon," said the girl still. "Our common rooms? I'm a Ravenclaw." She walked away, looking suspiciously back at them. Harry and Ron looked down the stone steps into the darkness. Their footsteps echoed particularly loudly as Crabbe and Goyle's huge feet hit the floor, meaning that this wasn't going to be easy as they had hoped. The labyrinthine passages were deserted. They walked deeper and deeper under the school, constantly checking their watches to see how much time they had left. After a quarter of an hour, just when they were getting desperately, they heard the sun moving ahead. "Ha!" said Ron. "There's one of them now." The figure emerged from the side room as they hurried nearer. However, their hearts sank. It wasn't a Slytherin. It was Percy. "What are you doing down here?" said Ron. Percy looked affronted. "That," he said, "there is none of your business. It's Crabbe, isn't it?" "Oh, yeah," said Ron. "We can all see your dormitories," said Percy sternly. "It's not safe to go wandering around dark corridors these days." "You are," Ron pointed out. "I," said Percy, drawing himself up. "I'm a prefect. Nothing is about to attack me." A voice suddenly echoed behind Harry and Ron. Draco Malfoy was strolling towards them, and for the first time in his life, Harry was pleased to see him. "There you are." "There you are," he strolled, looking at him. "Have you been picking out at the Great Hall all this time?" "I've been looking for you. I wanted to show you something really funny." Malfoy glanced witheringly at Percy. "And what are you doing down here, Weasley?" Percy looked outraged. "You want to show a bit more respect to a school prefect. I don't like your attitude." Malfoy sneered and mentioned Harry and Ron to follow him. Almost got something apologetic to Percy, but caught himself just in time. He and Ron hurried after Malfoy, who said as they were turned into the next passage, "That Percy Weasley, Peter Weasley, Percy, whatever. I've noticed him sneaking around a lot lately. I bet I know what he's up to. He thinks he's going to catch his Slytherin's there single-handedly." He had a sort of derisive laugh. Harry and Ron exchanged excited looks. Malfoy paused by a stench of bare, damp Stonewall. "What's the new password again?" he said to Harry. "Oh yes, pure blood," said Malfoy, not listening. Stonewall concealed in the wall slid open. Malfoy marched through it, and Harry and Ron followed him. The Slytherin common room was a long, low, underground room with rough stone walls and ceiling, from which round greenish lamps were hanging on the chains. A fire was cracking under an elaborately carved mantelpiece around them, and several Slytherins were silhouetted around it in carved chairs. Wait here," said Malfoy to Harry and Ron, motioning them to a pair of empty chairs set back from the fire. "I'll go and get it. My father just sent it to me." Wondering what Malfoy was going to show them, Harry and Ron sat down, doing their best to look at home. Malfoy came back in a minute, holding what looked like a newspaper cutting. He thrust it under Ron's nose. "That'll give you a laugh," he said. Harry saw Ron's eyes widen in shock. He read the cutting quickly, gave a forced laugh, and handed it to Harry. It had clips out of the Daily Prophet, and it said, "Inquiry at the Ministry of Magic. Arthur Weasley, head of the Misuse of Muggle Artifacts Office, was today fined 50 galleons for bewitching a Muggle car. Mr. Lucius Malfoy, Governor..." Here's Draco Malfoy, by the way. "Hogwarts School, Wisconsin Wizardry, where the enchanted car crashed earlier this afternoon called today for Mr. Weasley's resignation. Weasley had brought the ministry into disrepute. Mr. Malfoy told our reporter he is clearly unfit to draw up our laws on this ridiculous Uncle Protection Act should be scrapped off immediately. Mr. Weasley was unavailable for comment, although his wife told reporters to clear off. She set a family ghoul on them. Well, said Malfoy impatiently as Harry. Do you think it's funny? Said Harry bleakly. Arthur Weasley loves Muggles so much, he should have snapped his wand in half and go and join them. You never knew if the Weasleys were purebreds the way they behave. Ron's, or rather Crabbe's face was contorted and, "What's up with you, Crabbe?" snapped, said Malfoy. "Doublegate," Ron said. Ron grunted. "Well, go up to the hospital wing and give all those Mudbloods a kick for me," said Malfoy, snickering. "You know, I'm surprised Dave Rowan hasn't reported all these attacks yet," went on thoughtfully. "I suppose Dumbledore is trying to hush it all up. He'll be sacked if he doesn't stop them soon. Ron's always said Dumbledore is the worst thing that's ever happened to this place. He loves Muggleborns. A decent headmaster would have never let this slime like Colin Creevy in." Yeah, he is annoying. Malfoy started taking pictures with an imaginary camera and did a cruel but accurate impression of, "Potter, can I have your autograph? Picture? Anything, Potter? Can I have your autograph? Can I lick your shoes, Potter? Please, Potter." He dropped his hands and looked at Harry and Ron. "What's the matter with you two?" Harry and Ron forced themselves, but Malfoy seems satisfied. Perhaps McGonagall was slow on the uptake. Only slow on the uptake. "St. Potter, the Mudblood's friend," said Malfoy. "He's another one who has no proper wizard feeling. Wouldn't go around with that jumped up Granger Mudblood. And people think he's Slytherin's heir. People think he's Slytherin's heir." Harry and Ron waited with bated breath. Malfoy was surely seconds away from telling them it was him, but then, "I wish I knew who it was," said Malfoy petulantly. "I could help them." Ron's jaw dropped so that Crabbe's face looked more gormless than usual. Fortunately, Malfoy didn't notice. Harry thinking fast. He must have some idea who's behind it all. "You know I haven't gone. How many times do I have to tell you?" snapped Malfoy. "Father won't tell me anything about the last time the chamber was opened either. Of course, it was 50 years ago, so it was before his time, but he knows all about it, and he says that it was all kept quiet, and it'll look suspicious if I know too much about it. Well, I know one thing. Last time the Chamber of Secrets was opened, a Mudblood died. So I bet it's only a matter of time before one of them is killed. I hope it's Granger," he said with really hellish. Ron was clenching Crabbe's gigantic fist, feeling that it would be a bit of giveaway. Ron punched Malfoy. Harry shouted bewilderedly, "You know if the person who opened the chamber last time was called?" "Oh yeah, whoever it was expelled," said Malfoy. "They're probably still in Azkaban." "Azkaban?" "Azkaban, the wizard prison, Coyle," said Malfoy, looking at them in disbelief. "Honestly, if you were any slower, you'd be going backwards." He suggested restlessly in his chair and said, "Father says to keep my head down and let the heir of Slytherin get on with it. He says the school needs ridding of all the Mudblood's filth, but not to get mixed up in it. Of course, he's got a lot on his plate at the moment. You know, the Ministry of Magic raided our mountain last week." "Yeah, Harry tried to force Goyle's still face into a look of concern. Yeah, said Malfoy. Luckily they didn't find much. Probably got some very valuable dark arts stuff. But luckily we got our own secret chamber under the drawing room floor. Oh, said Ron. Malfoy, he started Harry and Ron blushed. He knew everything, his nose was turning, was also slowly lengthening. The hour was up. Ron was turning back into himself, and from the lack of horror he was giving to speak to. Both jumped to their feet. That's in for my stomach, Ron grunted. And without further ado, they sprinted the length of the southern calming room, hurled themselves at the stone wall, and dashed up the passage, hoping against hope that Malfoy hadn't noticed anything. Harry could feel his feet slipping around his gold shoes and had to hoist his robe up as he shrank. He crashed up the steps into the dark entrance hall, which was full of muffling pounding coming from the cupboard where they had left Crabbe and Goyle. Leaving their shoes outside the cupboard door, they sprinted in their socks up to the marble staircase towards Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Well, it wasn't a complete waste of time, Ron panted, closed the bathroom door behind him. I know we still haven't found who was doing the attacks, but I'm going to write Dad tomorrow and tell him to check under Malfoy's drawing room. Harry checked his face in the cracked mirror. He was back to normal. Put his glasses on, and as Ron hammered on the door of Hermione's cubicle. Hermione, come out, we've got loads to tell you. Go away, Hermione squeaked. Harry and Ron looked at each other. What's the matter, Ron? Said Ron. You must be back to normal by now. We are. But Moaning Myrtle glided suddenly through the cubicle door. Harry had never seen her look so. Ooh, wait till you see, she said. It's awful. He heard the dog slide back and the robes pulled over her head. What's up? Said Ron. Have you got Wilson's nose or something? Hermione let the robes fall and Ron sit back into the sink. Her face was covered in black fur, her eyes had gone yellow, and there were long pointed ears poking out through her hair. It was Connor! She howled. Millicent also must have a cat. The potion isn't supposed to work. It is for animal post-transformations. And this is Hermione as a cat. Uh-oh, said Ron. Your tea's dreadful. Something dreadful, said Myrtle, happy. It's okay, Hermione, said Harry quickly. We'll take you up to the hospital wing. Madame Bronte never asks too many questions. It took a long time to persuade Hermione to leave the bathroom. Moaning Myrtle sped them on their way with a hearty guffaw. Wait till anyone finds you've got the tail. And that ends the chapter of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.